One of the Legion's best-known ambassadors is actor and journalist Ross Kemp, who joins us from Buckinghamshire this morning. Good morning to you. Good to see you this morning, Ross. Thanks very much for joining us. It is a real worry, isn't it, this year, that because of the fact that poppies won't be able to be sold in the usual way, that it means not as much money will be raised and the support for veterans might not be able to be there in the same form.
Yeah, look, there's normally around 40,000 people out on our streets collecting for the Royal British Legion, and we know that's going to be down by some 30% at least. So this year, every poppy counts. I know there are a lot of people out there suffering, but we know that particularly in the armed forces community, there are people suffering. There are also members of our armed forces who are actually on the COVID front line in our hospitals, you know, working every day alongside colleagues or friends in the NHS. So every poppy counts this year more than ever. There are different ways of buying a poppy. So you can go to the British Legion website, www.rbl.org.uk. You can buy poppies for friends and you can send them. You can get a fundraising pack. You can buy a giant poppy if you can't get out, and you can place it in your window, because there are members of our armed forces community who are really suffering at the moment. And they're not just people who served in the Second World War, like my grandfather. There are people who have served our country in all sorts of conflicts around the world. And it's not always just the girls and the guys who are out on the ground. It's members of their family that need help as well.
I mean, it's a great idea, actually, isn't it, to put a really big, visible sign of support in the window with the symbol of the poppy. You mentioned there your grandfather. I know you've got this personal connection. Your grandmother as well was looked after in a Royal British Legion home, wasn't she?
Yeah. For the last 5 years of her life, my nan Irene was looked after at Horsey House, which is a Royal British Legion home. I have a picture here. That's my nan there. That's my mum. Other around, that's my nan. I loved her dearly. My grandfather left in 1939 and never came back again until 1945. So not only did it have effect on my nan, it had a massive effect on my mum growing up, not to see or know where her father was for the majority of the war. My father served as well, and he's a member of the Royal British Legion, but now he's isolating. So many people that would be normally out collecting aren't out there. So we have to look at maybe going to some of the supermarkets. We know that Tesco, Sainsbury's, Morrison's, Aldi, Asda are all going to help in terms of collections with boxes. Also, you can go to Amazon, you can go to eBay. There are different ways, because I just want to get it out there again. Every poppy counts this year, because there are a lot of people in our armed forces community who are suffering and they really need the help.
Yeah, it's very interesting that what you say about going to war, coming back, because as you say, the families that have to deal with that separation, that is a toll in itself, isn't it? In conflicts now, let alone back then. It's sad that it's impacting this way on the efforts of the Royal British Legion, because it feels like a year where many stories of veterans, particularly older veterans, have really come to the fore. You know, Captain Sir Tom is one of them, and many others, and lots of youngsters have been inspired by that. But of course, that doesn't help them, does it? We have seen them in action, but they've not necessarily, and those that are less well known, haven't had the chance to go out, because it's a lovely thing, that collecting, for many veterans, isn't it?
I think it's an opportunity for us to often come into first-hand contact with people who have basically put their lives on the line for our freedom. And that's going to be lacking this year. And I hope that next year, hopefully we'll be past COVID, that we'll see those faces out on the streets again. But, you know, it's important to get over, just because those people are not going to be out on the streets this year. They still need our help. And we must go to those websites, the British Legion, Royal British Legion website, or go into your supermarket, find other ways of raising money for people who desperately need it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's such a great cause, isn't it? I mean, and you talk about the current situation we're in at the moment, and that's why things aren't able to be the same. I know you did that documentary back in April where you went into a hospital to see firsthand the hard work that frontline workers were doing to tackle coronavirus and to deal with the pandemic. How does it feel for you now? I mean, obviously, you were there, taking it all in, seeing what they were up against. When we look at the figures, they're rising again in several parts of the country. Hospital admissions are up again. It sort of feels like we're heading towards that situation again at the moment, doesn't it?
It does, and I don't think that's too much of a shock, sadly. When I was speaking to the heads of the ICU at Milton Keynes University Hospital, Hamid, who you saw in that picture, he was worried, about winter. We know that the virus likes dark and the cold. So, it was on the cards. I think, we've all just got to hold together. We talk about fighting it. Let's just survive it all. Let's just get through this time together. But as I say, there will be a lot of people, a lot of widows whose husbands would have been through conflicts, or wives may have been through conflicts, who have sadly gone and passed. A guy that was in the Red Caps sadly passed while I was at Milton Keynes, and his widow was fantastically supportive of the work that we were doing in the hospital to get the awareness out there as just to how hard frontline staff in the NHS were working.
And before we go, we've got to ask you about Dame Barbara Windsor, your great friend. And I know that, you kept in touch with her. I think you visited her in February. Have you been in touch with her since? Do you know how she's doing?
Yeah. Well, the reason I'm actually doing this today is because effectively I'm standing in for her.
Oh.
I spoke to her on FaceTime on Sunday with her husband, Scott. She recognised me, but I think we all have to be realistic that there is no cure for Alzheimer's presently, and it's probably not going to get better for her.
No,
it's grim and tough for so many people. I mean, she has kind of put a very much loved face on a huge problem. Yeah.
Yeah, great supporter of the Royal British Legion, and it's coincidental that obviously I played her son in the show, and that my family are connected to the military. But it's an honour to be able to be here today talking to you on her behalf, effectively.
To fly the flag for her. Well, listen, send our love when you next speak to her. Anyway, she's very much in our thoughts at the moment, and we really appreciate you coming on.
To you.
Thanks, Ross.
Lovely talking to you guys. Every poppy counts.
Absolutely. Every poppy counts. We've got some here.
We've got lots.
We've already started counting ours.
Yeah.
We're not putting them on until Monday, but we've got them in. We've got them in. Don't worry. And we're making sure we're paying for them as well, by the way, because I know that's the important thing. It's not just wearing it; it's handing over the cash.